Let me give you some words just kind of came off the top of my head as I watched it last night. I thought the opening presentation, the Parade of Nations on the boats on the Seine River, I just thought that was great theater. What we saw last night, closing ceremonies, the star show, Tom Cruise, all that, great artistry. The color and pageantry of what we saw, opening and close, amazing. I thought NBC did a phenomenal job. I thought Tirico balancing all the different events, the different co-hosts, the guests. I thought what NBC did, they deserved a gold star too. I think that, they overcame the adversity of the pollution in the River Seine. That was a big issue, and it's still a big issue because now a whole number of athletes that swam in different events, like there's 4 to 5 of them, have gotten serious infections, if you will, by virtue of the pollution. That might have been the only mistake. Deep in my heart, my biggest fear about the Olympics was terrorism. Was there going to be something happening? Because that's part of our global life now. Luckily, there was not. Noah Lyles had COVID, but what a dynamic personality. He ran the final race with a fever of 102. Not quite sure how he's allowed to run in a race with COVID, but he did test clean after having been sick for 2 days in a row. Simone Biles, what a spectacular individual. And we talked the other day about what Simone Biles represents, not as just a gymnast, but what she represented to young athletes who are having mental health problems. I thought that was spectacular. I thought the Eiffel Tower, what a great scene setter that was. One of the coolest things was to see beach volleyball. They built the beach right down on the flat ground with the tower right behind. What a cool sight that was. Biles, Katie Ledecky, U.S. track and field stars, won all those golds the final week to give the U.S. The overall championship. The marathon, the Olympic marathon that was run around and through the grounds at the Palace of Versailles.
That was cool.
That was cool. And I've been in that Palace of Versailles, and I was speechless. And now you see them running the marathon, all about that. USA basketball, I think it must have been a challenge for Steve Kerr to keep all those athletes healthy because they all wanted to play, and there's only one basketball, and you're going to play 5 at a time. But he was able to, obviously on talent, get the gold medal, although they had some close games along the way. But that must have been really hard, and he's announced he's not going to come back and coach the Olympics again. So maybe that's a byproduct. And obviously, to me, the most heartwarming story was the 2 Olympians who won gold from Ukraine, got back on the plane with their medals and their flag, and flew back to Kiev, which is bombed out. That's amazing for them to accomplish that with everything that was going on in their personal lives. So those are some of the snapshots that I remember. And I watched a lot. And even though we had the time zones, which could make it really hard to follow, the fact that NBC's network, they own all these other stations. You could watch it on CNBC and MSNBC and USA Today and True TV. That was cool because if you found the listings as to when a specific event was, like I wanted to watch the men's 1500 broken down distance runner that I was, and I wanted to watch the end of the marathons. I could find what channel they were on, and I could flip it, and I could see it live. And then at 7 o'clock, when they did the packaged highlights of every event, I just thought NBC, that was a gold medal television performance, considering locales, different announced teams, the whole logistics of getting it done. And in dealing, it wasn't their feed. It was the Olympic video feed that they had to broadcast off of. I just thought NBC did a great job. So those are my snapshots. The only thing I have to say in closing, merci Paris. Hey. I thought it was spectacular. Your turn.
Mike Tirico is a pro, isn't he?
Oh, he's great. He's the most complete guy since Al Michael. And I think Al Michael was one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah. He has the right temperament, to do an athletic event, but a cultural event, a worldwide event. I thought he was fantastic.
You were big on Snoop Dogg and Jim Fallon, weren't you? And Martha Stewart. I knew you'd say it.
We saw the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Snoop out there when they're bringing the game back to LA, which was great. You talked about the marathon, and I watched that going by Versailles. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. And I was noticing that the runners were, the leading runners were going down whatever part of the track they were on. And there's that kind of that fence line, that metal fence. And then the fans are on the other side. And some of the fans would try to run alongside just to kind of get a sense of the pace. And they couldn't keep up because these marathon runners were running the equivalent of like a 4-minute something mile.
A sub 5-minute mile at the 21st mile of the race. Think about that.
That's insane.
And running up some of the hills were just deathly.
It was unbelievable. And then I was watching, I think it was the bronze medal match for men's beach volleyball, and Qatar had a team and they were really good. And I was thinking, how often have I seen Qatar in the Olympics? But boy, they were really talented. I mean, just so many great stories. But what do you think about this whole Jordan Childs controversy with her bronze medal maybe getting removed?
Yeah, there's going to be some type of litigation, and I think the IOC, it's going to go to some type of court, and they will discuss it. I think she's going to wind up keeping the medal as they go. But I just thought the events were great. I thought the pictures were great. I mean, and I watched so much. This is probably the most Olympics that I have watched in a long time because I had access to all these different channels this time, and I wasn't bothered by, was it 8 or 9 hours from here to Paris? I mean, I just thought it was really spectacular.
I know what I was going through my DirecTV stream, and I'd go to the sports section and I'd see them all. And then I would see some that were like regular definition and others were 4K definition. So it was interesting to be able to flip between those two. But you're right. It's just the way they handled the time difference and presented the highlights. It felt like I was watching it live, even though I knew it was recorded.
Like I said, merci, Patty. All right, your turn. Fans Forum. You got topics about the Olympics? Feel free. I forgot to ask you. P.S. Addendum question. You please explain to me how the hell you're scoring breakdancing?
Oh, yeah. Did you see that Australian woman was doing all these like weird things? She wasn't even like a real breakdancer.
And how do you score rock climbing?
Well, speed probably, right?
Okay.
To get up to the top. But there was the one CNN reporter, I can't remember his name. He's a bald guy, but he's really fun. And he was interviewing the athletes, and he was interviewing one of the track guys and talking about breakdancing, and they were busting moves there and having a fun time with it. I like how the Olympics bring in new sports and change with the times. For me, I was a kid, I raced BMX in the 1970s and 80s, and to see it as an Olympic sport for me is a thrill. But breakdancing, I'm not sure about that one. It's also, how do you the hell you score that?
And